Hello, and today I'm going to show you how to make it look like it's snowing in any photograph. Step 1. Add a new blank layer above the image. To avoid making permanent changes to the original photo, we'll create the snow effect on a separate layer. Click the Add New Layer icon at the bottom of the Layers panel, which can be found right here. Once you've done that, click on it and name it Snow. Then click Enter. Step 2. Fill the new layer with black. Next, we'll need to fill the new layer with black. Go up to the Edit menu in the menu bar along the top of the screen and choose Fill. Once you've done that, make sure it's set to black and then click OK. Step 3. Apply the Add Noise filter. To create the falling snow, we'll start with Photoshop's Add Noise filter. In the Layers panel, make sure the snow layer is selected. Then go up to the filter menu and choose Noise and choose Add Noise. Once you've done that, make sure the mount is set to 25% and that you clicked on the Gaussian and the Monochromatic. Then click OK. Step 4. Increase the size of the noise. Along with being too faint, the dots are also too small, so we'll make them bigger using the Scale command. Go up to the Edit menu in the menu bar and choose Transform, then Scale. Once you've done that, in the Options bar, make sure the link icon between the width and the height values is selected, which can be found right here, and just select it. Then either set the width or the height to 400. Then click OK. Then click the check mark to accept it. Step 5. Crop away the hidden areas of the snow layer. Only problem with scaling the snow layer so much larger is that we've also made the document's file size larger, and depending on the size of your image, this could slow down Photoshop's performance as we continue through the steps. How to view the layer's actual size. If you go up to the Edit menu, and in the menu bar, choose Free Transform. And notice how large the snow layer actually is. The only part we see in the document is a small area in the center, while the majority of it extends well into the gray pasteboard. Yet all of it, including the hidden area, is adding to the file size. So before we go further, we'll crop away everything we don't need to bring our file size back down. First, cancel Free Transform by clicking the Cancel button in the Options bar. Then zoom back in on your image by going up to the View menu and choose Fit on Screen. To crop away everything on the snow layer that extends outside the viewable area of the document, go up to the Select menu and choose All. Then go up to Image menu and choose Crop. Then remove the selection outline by going back to the Select menu and choosing Deselect. Step 6. Convert the snow layer into a smart object. Next, we'll convert the snow layer into a smart object. That way, any filters or images adjustments will apply to the layer will remain editable in case we want to go back and make changes in the Layers panel. Make sure the snow layer is selected. Then click on the Layers panel menu and choose Smart Objects, and then convert to Smart Objects. A Smart Object icon appears in the Layers preview thumbnail, telling us that the layer is now inside a Smart Object. Step 7. Change the layer blend mode to screen. To blend the noise from the snow layer in with the image, change the Smart Object's blend mode from normal to screen. The screen blend mode hides all the areas of black, leaving only the white noise visible. Step 8. Apply the motion blur filter. To make the snow look like it's falling, not frozen in time, we'll add a bit of motion to it using Photoshop's motion blur filter. Go up to the filter menu, choose blur, and choose motion blur. In the motion blur dialog box, first set the angle to the direction you want the snow to be falling. You can enter a value directly or you can rotate the dial. I'll set the angle to -65. So the snow is falling from the upper left. Distance controls how much motion is applied. Setting the distance too high will make the snow look like rain. So use a low value between 8 to 12 depending on the size of the image. I'm going to set it to 10. Then click OK to close the dialog box. Viewing and editing smart filter. Since we added the motion blur filter to a smart object, Photoshop applied it as a smart filter. And in the layers panel, the smart filter appears listed below the smart object. You can reopen and edit a smart filter setting at any time by double-clicking on its name. But even if you don't need to edit the setting, it's still nice to see a list of all the filters we've added. Deleting the filter mask. By default, the Layers panel adds a filter mask for the smart filters, indicated by the white thumbnail to the left of the word Smart Filters. A filter mask is the same as a layer mask, except that instead of hiding the contents of a layer, the filter mask can be used to hide the effect of the smart filters from different parts of the image. We won't be using the filter mask for our snow effect, so since we don't need the big thumbnail clutting up the Layers panel, let's remove it. To delete the filter mask, right-click on Smart Filters, then hit Delete Filter Mask. And now with the mask thumbnail gone, we have more room to see the other smart filters we'll be adding next. Step 9. Add a levels image adjustment. To reduce the amount of snow and brighten it up at the same time, we'll use a levels image adjustment. Go up to the image menu and choose adjustments. Then click on levels. Step 10. Drag the black point and white point sliders. In the center of the levels dialog box is a histogram, which is a graph that shows the current tonal range of the image, or in this case of the snow smart object. And below the histogram are 3 sliders. There's a black point slider on the far left, a white point slider on the far right, and a mid-tone slider, the gray slider, in the middle. You can ignore the gray mid-tone slider. All we need are the black and white ones. To reduce the amount of snow, click on the black slider and slowly drag it to the right. Keep an eye on your image as you drag, and you'll see the darker areas of the snow becoming even darker and eventually disappearing completely. Then, to brighten up the remaining snow, click on the white slider and drag it to the left. The further you drag, the brighter the snow becomes. You'll probably need to go back and forth with the 2 sliders to fine-tune the results. Once you've done that, then you can click OK to close the Levels dialog box. Applying image adjustments as smart filters. Even though Levels is an image adjustment, not a filter, Photoshop still treats it like a smart filter when we apply it to a smart object, and this means that the adjustment remains editable. In fact, most image adjustments found under the Image menu can be applied to smart objects as smart filters. In the Layers panel, levels now appear above Motion Blur in the list of smart filters, so Photoshop is applying the Motion Blur filter first and then the levels adjustments on top of it. You can reopen levels and readjust the black and white point sliders if needed by double-clicking on the Adjustments name. Step 11. Duplicate the snow smart object. Let's add some depth to our falling snow by creating a second layer of it. This time with bigger snowflakes so they'll look like we're closer to the camera. To do that, we'll need to make a copy of our snow smart object. In the Layers panel, click on the smart object and drag it down to Add New Layer icon. A copy with the word copy in its name appears above the original. And notice that it also includes a copy of the Motion Blur and Levels smart filter, so we're getting the same effect duplicated. Step 12. Rotate the copy 180 degrees. We'll rotate the copy so that these new snowflakes are adding to the amount of snow in the photo, instead of just sitting on top of the original snowflakes. With the Snow Copy Smart Object selected in the Layers panel, with the Snow Copy Smart Object selected in the Layers panel, go up to the Edit menu, choose Transform, then choose Rotate 180 degrees. When the layers are rotated, the new snowflakes are still falling at the same angle as the originals, but because they are spaced out differently, we now have twice as much snow as we did before. Step 13. Apply the Crystallize filter. To make these new snowflakes bigger than the originals, we'll use Photoshop's Crystallize filter. Go up to the Filter menu and choose Pixelate. Then choose Crystallize. Once you have done that, the Crystallize filter breaks an image into little sections, or cells, of color, and we adjust the size of the cells with the cell size option at the bottom of the dialog box. A value of 10 to 20 usually works well for this effect. Since my image is fairly large, I'll go with the higher value of 20. Then click OK when you're done to close the dialog box. The new snowflakes are now much larger. In the Layers panel, Crystallize appears as smart filters above Motion Blur and Levels. If you want to try a different cell size value to compare the results, just double-click on the name Crystallize to reopen the Filters dialog box. Step 14. Apply the Motion Blur filter again. To add motion to the large snowflakes, we'll apply a second Motion Blur filter. Go back up to the Filter menu and choose Blur. And once again, choose Motion Blur. In the dialog box, leave the angle set to the same value, but since these new snowflakes are larger than the originals, increase the distance to somewhere between 16 and 20. I'm going to set it to 17. Then once you're done, then click OK. Here is the effect with the Motion Blur applied to the larger snowflakes. And in the Layers panel, our second Motion Blur Smart Filter appears at the top of the list. Step 15, the final step. Fine-tune the effect with the second levels adjustment. Finally, to fine-tune the appearance of the larger snowflakes, add a second levels adjustment by going up to the image menu and choosing adjustments. Then choosing levels. Then, just like we did before, drag the black point and white point sliders to make any adjustments you need. Then once you're done, click OK when you're done to close the dialog box. In the Layers panel, the second levels adjustment appears at the top of Smart Filters list. And here, after fine-tuning the larger flakes, is my final result. Thank you for watching my video tutorial. Now you know how to add falling snow to any photograph.